your head and your body is flooded with panic, and you'll do anything, practically anything, to make it stop. Well, if you are a parent or have parented children, you can easily relate to it. Now, old parenting wisdom encourage parents to intervene immediately. Don't let them get away with this, they would say. Not anymore. Recent brain research shows that kids can't learn when they are at the height of a frenzy or a meltdown. That means it's no use giving a lecture, offering rewards, or making threats when your child is angry, anxious, agitated, aggressive, or crying. In those moments, your job is to stay calm and present, to support kids as they relax and return to a calm state of mind, and they'll calm down. Don't worry. Now, what happens, unfortunately, once they have reached a calm state, most children run off and play, completely oblivious to the meltdown that happened a few minutes ago. Others avoid you for the rest of the day, and you want them to learn a better way to handle the situation next time. So you want to teach them a lesson. Remember, you have to do it without yelling or giving a harsh punishment. So how do you do it? First of all, you have to remember that meltdowns and disagreements are a part of life. Rather than closing your eyes and hoping that things will just magically get better, take a deep breath and do something about it. Now, doing something about it or teaching does not mean you have to be aggressive or scary, or you have to shout. Instead, you can parent your child with a brain research backed method, which we'll discuss. Now, wait until everyone is calm, and to start with, you have to know your child. Every child is different. Some children will need more time to settle down after a big feeling. Some children avoid discussions due to shame or embarrassment. Some kids simply move on without giving behavior a second thought. Now you have to know what works for your child and how you can have a great conversation, a conversation that is effective with them. Some children learn better when you talk to them side by side, like driving in the car or taking a walk. Some children do better when you sit them down and talk to them in a quiet place. Some children do better with physical touch during the conversation. For example, being cuddled, having their back rubbed, or holding their hand. Then you also have to know whether your child does better with written or verbal communication. Some children do better when you draw a picture or a comic strip, or you write your thoughts in a letter to them. That will help them understand and communicate better. Then you have to pay attention to the age of your child. Is your child 4 or 14, 3 or 13? It is tempting to use the same script, same conversation for all ages, but that doesn't work. You have to tailor your words and explanations to their developmental age. This is essential. Now, before we go any further, you have to understand what teaching a lesson does not mean. It does not mean how can you convince your children to do things your way. It also does not mean how can you convince your child that you are right. It also does not mean that you are forcing them to apologize. It also does not mean how I can force my child to admit that they were wrong. No. Your goal is to engage in a conversation with your kids that is appropriate for their age, for their method of learning. And your objectives are: number one, connecting with them; number two, staying calm; number three, modeling good problem solving skills; and number four, the most important, is to create a plan to meet their needs or teach skills that they might be lacking. So the first thing that you do is to choose the time for the conversation. There are several possibilities here. You can talk about it right away. If it's a small rift or a simple disagreement, you might be able to discuss it a few minutes after it happens. Or you can talk about it later that day. Now you can let the dust settle for a while and come back to it later when people have had some time away from the triggering event. Or you can talk about it a few days later. This is a good option for big hot button topics or for discussing patterns or repeated challenges. Now, sometimes the message needs to be passed on repeatedly, so you can talk about it randomly. Some things are internalized better when they are peppered throughout other conversations, rather than lumping all of them into a one-time teaching event. So you can use TV shows, books, games, or something else in everyday life as a catalyst for ongoing discussion on that topic to pass on the message. Now, let's talk about the conversation itself. So, before you talk to your child, you have to know that this is not the time to give a lengthy lecture. This is also not time for you to repeat your point 20 times in a row. It's also not an opportunity for you to reiterate that you were right and why you were right and why they were wrong. And it is also not the moment to take away their privileges or impose strict consequences. So here is how to have a successful conversation. First of all, you have to know that not every event needs a discussion. Some scenarios need a simple reminder or a quick check-in, like, for example, telling your children to take their shoes off before coming in, or telling them it is really helpful when everyone hangs their clothes in the closet. Thank you. You repeat a few times and the message will be passed. Second thing is that when you talk to them, you focus on listening. Because if you are defensive, you will point out your child's every flaw and mistake. No. Instead, be open to hearing their side of the story or exploring the feelings or thoughts that led to the event. Third, don't jump too quickly to the solution. Remember, this isn't about forcing your child to see things your way. It's about working together and creating a better plan for the next time. Next, when in doubt, use empathy. As you sort through what happened, shift your thinking so you can see it through your child's eyes. You don't have to agree to guess what they are feeling. You only need to understand. And then when you talk to them, use I statements. Stay focused on your own feelings rather than accusing or blaming your child. Example, you can say, I felt hurt when you said you hated that lunch and gave it away because I worked hard to make it. I got up early to make it. And then you say, I'm open to hearing more about the things you like or don't like in your lunch, and we can find better solutions next time. Then you brainstorm together. Most of us have a solution already prepared when we sit our kids down for a talk. No, your child may have great ideas too. Give them a space to comment, to offer a solution, or to problem solve themselves. And then the final part is that you teach them the lacking skills. So this is the last part. Don't jump to it without focusing on connection and empathy first, because your kids they'll feel more open and willing to hear your point of view if they know that you're coming from a place of love and concern, rather than because I said so attitude. So I know some of it might be different than what you experienced growing up. So give yourself permission to make mistakes and try again. Be patient with yourself, with your child, and with this process. It will work. Happy parenting.